Okay, we're back third grade, and we just read about locusts, which are actually grasshoppers, and they change into what we call locusts to migrate. And we learned that they migrate because they need to eat food, so they need to go where the food is. Now, I'm going to read about the whales, and we're going to find out our essential question: why animals migrate. So we want to know why whales migrate. Maybe they have the same reason, maybe they have different reasons. I'm on page 248. Many mammals migrate, but no mammal migrates as far as the big gray whale. It travels 6,000 miles, then back again. And most of its traveling is done on an empty stomach. Gray whales love the cold waters near the North Pole because the waters are full of the food they love to eat. The whales live on tiny ocean shrimp and worms, and the Arctic waters are full of these in the summer. The whales eat and eat and eat, straining the tiny food through strips of baleen in their mouths. Instead of teeth, the grays have baleen, long strips of a hard material similar to fingernails. The gray whales swim and eat mostly alone through the summer. But in the fall, they will begin to look for some traveling companions because the whales know one thing for certain, that they must migrate. In winter, the Arctic seas are going to be filled with solid ice, and the whales will die if they stay. The first gray whales to leave the Arctic are the pregnant females. These expectant mothers want to have plenty of time to reach the warm waters of California and Mexico before they give birth. No mother wants to have a baby in icy water. Page 250. The other whales will follow, and in small groups they will all travel down the Pacific coast. Once they leave the Arctic, the whales won't find much food again, and it may be as long as 8 months before they eat. But as the whales have stored a lot of fat in their bodies, called blubber, and this will keep them alive. As they travel, the whales often swim near shore, and people along the way are thrilled. They wave to the whales from rocky cliffs and travel out in boats to say hello to them. When finally the gray whales reach the warm tropical waters in January, the pregnant females will give birth, and the other whales will wait. I just mixed up 2 letters there. And the other whales will mate. When you make a mistake, you have to go back and reread it to make sure that you understood it. Page 252, we see a globe, and there's a map. It says the arrows on the map show the gray whale's 6,000-mile journey from the Arctic, then back again. So if we can trace it, the Arctic is going to be up north. So we know we're going to start up here, right near Alaska. And they are going to travel from the Arctic area, and they like to stay along the coast. And they're going to go all the way down into this area by California and down into Mexico, where the waters are warm. And the mothers will have their babies, and the males and females will mate, and after 8 months they'll be able to eat. With new calves among them, a baby whale is called a calf. With new calves among them, all of the whales will enjoy life in the peaceful lagoons for a while. Then in March, they will be ready to head back to the Arctic for the summer. They haven't forgotten how they love to eat there. This time the males will leave first, and the females and calves will stay behind for another several weeks. The calves will have more time to grow and get stronger for the long journey. Finally, all of the whales will travel up past Oregon. Now, they're going to travel back up from Mexico, along California, up through Oregon and Washington State, and then they're up into Canada. Finally, all of the whales will travel up past Oregon, past Washington, through the waters of Alaska and Asia, up near the North Pole. See where the North Pole is? How do the whales find these Arctic waters? No one is sure. The whales might follow the shape of the ocean beds. They might sense the Earth's magnetic field like living compasses. They may use echolocation, sending out signals which bounce back and describe what is all around. But somehow the whales will travel that long 6,000-mile journey north, and they will find the same chilly waters they left behind. When they arrive in the Arctic, they will separate and enjoy a summer of fine ocean eating. 6,000 miles, 8 months without eating. So it says, analyze the text down here. Compare and contrast what is the same about the two trips that whales make. What is different? So I'm not going to use this Venn diagram. I'm going to draw another one, and that's very easy to do. It's very quick. I'm just going to draw my two circles that overlap. And I'm going to look at that question again. What is the same about the two trips that whales make? What is different? So I'm going to label this trip 1, trip 2. This is how trip 1 goes. This is how trip 2 goes. And this is what they're both similar to. Well, let's see. We know that trip 1, they are traveling south. Trip 2, they're traveling north. Both trips are 6,000 miles. So this is different. Trip 1, they're going south. Trip 2, they're going north. But they're both 6,000-mile trips. Something else. Trip 1, females lead. We might say pregnant females. And in trip 2, do you remember? The females follow last. The males lead their way back. And if I go back, I see this time the males will leave first and the females and calves will stay behind for another several weeks. Why? The calves will have more time to grow and get stronger for the long journey. So that's our reason why. Let's see. Anything else we should say? Maybe trip 1, they've got fat on their bodies. To give them energy. In trip 1, they've got a lot of fat on their bodies because they know that they're going to be traveling and they won't have anything for 8 months. So they've stored fat in their bodies. When they're going back now, they don't have that fat anymore. And we don't have to say that here. We can just have 3 things over here and 2 over here. That's okay. But one thing that was the same again, they're doing this. Why? For food. They're both times they're traveling for food. One time they're hungry, and the next time it's like, oh, now we can go back and eat the food that is no longer frozen. It's summer now in the Arctic, and the ice has melted. So now they can feed up north again. We're going to go to page 254. Just before the Arctic winter arrives, before the ice, something will tell the whales to find each other again, to find some company for another long, long swim. They might feel in their bodies that the temperature is changing, the water around them. Maybe it's the number of daylight hours that they notice. Something in their bodies tells them. They do communicate. They call to each other. So that's how they might tell each other to get in a group and start moving together. So now I want to go back to our Venn diagram where we talked about whales and locusts. We know that they both migrate. They both travel thousands of miles. They both travel in groups. And they both are seeking food. Whales won't eat for up to 8 months. The locusts are going to eat all the way along the way. They're going to continuously eat. So I'm going to write they eat all the time. Everywhere they go, they eat all the time. The whales give birth, females give birth. When they're up north. The locusts, they may mate anytime. The locusts' bodies change. Body changes, color, and grow wings. The whale, it doesn't, and we don't really have to say that it doesn't. We just don't have anything to go with that. So when we look at this, if we do these together, we'll see. Won't eat for up to 8 months, eats all the time. Gives birth, mate anytime. Nothing else here but body changes, color, and grow wings. Okay. That's that for now.